Hi, this is Jaya Kumawat, Head Biometrics at PPC. Pharmaceutical companies since long have attempted to use pioneering and fresh technologies in order to speed up clinical data capture. In today's scenario, electronic data capture is considered as the preferred and state-of-art technology with significant benefits over the traditional paper-based approach. But is it really so? Have all the anticipated benefits of EDC actually been achieved, or are they still uncertain? What should the pharmaceutical companies do in a coexisting world of paper-based and electronic system? Before embarking upon any new venture, it is important to use a quality approach such as the plan, do, check, act, cycle in order to ensure the success of your project. As a part of the plan stage of the cycle, we would like to highlight certain parameters that need to be considered to maximize success. Pharmaceutical companies need to do an intelligent study requirement and specifications analysis before moving on to a preferred technology. We will now discuss the evaluations, the questions, the parameters that a pharma company needs to think about and answer to themselves before they finally decide whether they should go the EDC way or the PDC way. So the first parameter is number of sites. The larger the number of sites, the greater the cost of the study. Training cost will increase per user per site. Infrastructure and setup cost will increase, such as cost of servers, individual computers, validation of software data backup, and data security measures. Support costs such as troubleshooting and guidance will be incurred. Parameter number 2, size of data or the number of CRF pages. For large CRFs, EDC will prove to be a more effective and efficient system. For instance, for a CRF as huge as 90 pages CRF, the CRF tracking and inventory associated in that case would be very burdensome and crazy. Discrepancy management would be cumbersome to an even higher degree, and query resolutions would take a lot of study times. Generating queries, sending them to sites, receiving query replies, and then updating the database. Whereas for a 5-page CRF, you may want to consider paper-based data collection, since the cost of EDC would not be reasonable for such a little effort. Also because collecting, monitoring, coding, reconciling, and analyzing a small study using EDC can be taxing in terms of software cost as well as the CDM and the clinical team's efforts. Parameter number 3, study phase. For a phase 2 or 3 study with real-time activities happening, EDC would be the preferred choice. However, for a retrospective study or a PMS study, you may want to consider PDC, since in a retrospective study, the data has already been recorded and has only to be copied onto the CRFs. Such a trial does not warrant EDC training and setup costs unless an EDC system is already up and running. Parameter number 4, distribution of subjects. For a small number of subjects, you may want to consider paper-based, since again, cost of EDC would not be reasonable for such a little effort. Whereas, if the study has a large patient pool, it is best to consider EDC, unless the study has a proportionally high number of sites, whereby the number of patients per site reduces, and then you could consider paper-based as it will bring down the study cost. Parameter number 5, study budget. Indeed, this is the utmost critical parameter that will decide whether you eventually consider EDC or paper-based. The transition to EDC is an investment that will pay off in the long run. However, you cannot begin the EDC journey on a low-budget trial. It is very important to train on a single platform for uniformity. Training and setup costs are too high to keep experimenting and switching software platforms. Therefore, it is important to choose a reliable EDC solution right from the very first project. Parameter number 6, the volume of the work. If a sponsor has, let's say, 10 studies, then EDC should be the consideration, since the voluminous work will accommodate for training, setup, support cost, and ensure a quick return on investment. Parameter number 7, study duration. If the study timelines are very stringent, you would want to consider EDC, as it will enable you to respond to health authorities in a timely manner. NDA review approval would be accelerated, leading to earlier revenue recognition. Data here also indicates that using business intelligence, decision making can be enhanced. Parameter number 8, therapeutic area. For your first pilot EDC project, you wouldn't want to do something as critical and complex as oncology, or something as unpredictable as tuberculosis, which is unpredictable parameters like the EBA, which is early bactericidal activity. It is recommended that you pick a simple project as your first pilot EDC project. Parameter number 9, clinical staff competencies. Acceptability of the electronic system by the end user. Are they comfortable and at ease or unwilling? Because this aspect will eventually determine the success of the new undertaking. You will face unnecessary delays owing to staff who are unfamiliar with IT and incur large expenses for troubleshooting man-hours. Parameter number 10, types of data collected in the study. Clinical trial data are not just recorded on CRFs. Increasingly, greater amounts of data, such as standard laboratory data, that is hematology, biochemistry, and safety data, specialist laboratory data like biomarkers, or echocardiogram data, images like CT scans and PET scans are used. Acquiring, storing, transmitting, merging, validating, and checking all the associated data and metadata from these sources often reduces speed, requires more resources, and causes quality issues. And you may also need to know if your EDC system supports such a variety of data. To sum up, for any business decision, you may want to do an evaluation that considers a combination of all these factors and then decide what best meets your requirements for a specific study, EDC or PDC. For a sponsor going in for CRO vendor selection, these would form a part of their vendor evaluation criteria. There are challenges to be faced by the sponsor and CROs in implementing EDC. EDC is a new technology in the clinical trials, and all stakeholders will face challenges of infrastructure, technology, compliance to regulations, and training. This is the PDCA cycle we earlier spoke about. This certainly is a technology-driven industry, and eventually EDC is going to take over. But remember, technology alone cannot guarantee the quality of final data. It is the planning and review of systems and processes that guarantee the quality of the final data. To ensure that quality of data is not compromised, you must allow for a step-by-step rather than a sudden transition from paper-based to electronic system. The continual improvement cycle illustrated here is a very handy tool to ensure that all important issues are considered before you take the plunge. For example, you may find after consideration of all important issues that perhaps a hybrid solution needs to be considered before making a complete and sudden switch to a total EDC trial. However, it is clear whatever system you may finally decide to use, the ultimate goal of clinical data management remains the same, that is, to deliver quality data.